Did you know that there are about tens of millions of individuals in the whole wide world that are forced to be slaves? Slavery has been around for thousands of years, but due to many factors such as economical or social needs, its numbers have multiplied over the past few decades. We can say that the number of slaves has increased drastically over the years when slavery was first introduced into the world. A slave would cost the equivalent of $40,000 of today's money. Nowadays, a slave can cost you up to $90. There are different types of slavery, but we will mention a few that are most seen throughout the world.
Child sex trafficking is when a minor is recruited, forced, transported, or enticed to perform a commercial sex act. About 2 million children are victims of child sex trafficking each year across the globe, and the average age of a child being trafficked is at only 12 years of age. Normally, children who run away from problems at home are easy targets and are often exploited because of their vulnerability and desperation for money. Also, children from the lower class seem to be at higher risk of commercial sex exploitation. Individuals are brought and sold into this industry in different ways, like fake employment agencies, newspaper ads, word of mouth, or abduction.
Did you know that 700 million women and girls worldwide were married as children? Approximately 15 million girls, mostly aged under 18, are forced into marriage every year. Child forced marriages occur because of gender inequality, poverty, insecurity, or tradition. They are closely associated with young adolescent pregnancy and early motherhood. Once married, young girls are often faced with an expectation to prove their fertility and get pregnant. This is very dangerous since these young girls often get pregnant when they are not mentally or physically prepared and are more at risk of suffering health complications. Childbirth is the leading cause of death among girls between ages of 15 and 19 in developing countries. Child wives are also at a greater risk of contracting HIV or AIDS and from suffering domestic violence. Early marriage often means that girls are expected to fulfill their role of a housewife and soon after that of a mother, denying them of their youth and choices for the rest of their lives.
Bonded labor or debt bondage occurs when people enslave themselves to pay off a debt, loan, or when one inherits a debt from a relative. It may seem like an employment agreement, but the worker starts working with the sole purpose of paying what is owed, usually in brutal conditions. The worker never seems to pay the debt doing the sufficient work, and it becomes impossible to repay. Their enslavement becomes permanent. Bonded labor tends to exploit workers. This repetitive process starts with an acquired or inherited debt that cannot be paid immediately. The worker does what he is asked to repay the debt, but the employer adds on additional expenses that make the debt unpayable. In most cases, the debt is passed down from generation to generation.
What Stowe is trying to say through the character of George Harris is that he is better than his master in every way. He's smarter, stronger, more hardworking, and more principled, but is legally controlled by someone much weaker and pettier than he is.
Even though we already know this intellectually, we can never really grasp the cruelty of this kind of subjugation on an emotional level without experiencing it ourselves. So the novel tries to enact that experience for the reader, so that we may get some inkling on how degrading slavery truly is. This is extremely frustrating for George, knowing he is capable of so much, but prohibited of doing anything he wants and can do.